Captain Sarah Chen stared at the blinking red light on her control panel and sighed. She took another sip of her coffee and tapped the screen with her finger. The light kept blinking. "Rodriguez, come take a look at this," she called to her engineer. Miguel Rodriguez floated up from the cargo bay, wiping grease off his hands with an old rag. The ship's artificial gravity was still acting up after their last delivery run to Europa. "What's wrong now, Captain?" "The new navigation system is giving me weird readings. Says we're nowhere near Jupiter." Sarah pointed at the screen. "Actually, it says we're nowhere near anything I recognize." Rodriguez looked at the display and scratched his head. "That can't be right. We just left Mars 3 hours ago." The new FTL drive was supposed to cut our delivery time to Jupiter Station from 2 days to 6 hours. Their ship, the cargo hauler Lucky Strike, was testing humanity's latest breakthrough in faster-than-light travel. It was supposed to revolutionize trade between Earth's colonies. Instead, it seemed to have revolutionized getting completely lost. "Maybe we should look outside," suggested Jackson, their pilot, from his seat. Tom Jackson was eating a sandwich and reading a magazine about fishing. He was the most relaxed pilot in the solar system, which made him perfect for long cargo runs. Sarah pressed a button, and the metal shutters slid away from the main viewing window. All 3 humans stopped what they were doing and stared. Outside was not the familiar orange glow of Jupiter and its moons. Instead, they saw a massive blue and green planet surrounded by enormous metal structures. Ships the size of city blocks moved between space stations that looked like they could house millions of people. Energy beams created colorful patterns across the planet's surface. "Well," said Jackson, taking another bite of his sandwich, "this is new." Rodriguez pressed his face against the window. "Those ships are huge, and look at those space stations. They're like floating cities." Sarah checked their instruments again. "According to our systems, we're about 50,000 light-years from home. That's impossible. Our drive was only supposed to work for short jumps within the solar system." "Maybe we took a wrong turn," Jackson said helpfully. Before anyone could respond, their communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in a language they had never heard before. It sounded angry and urgent. The voice was joined by more voices, all talking at once in the same strange language. "That doesn't sound friendly," Rodriguez said. Sarah flipped through their radio frequencies. "Let me try the universal translator." The experimental device had been loaded with every Earth language and was supposed to work with any logical communication pattern. After a few seconds of electronic beeping, the translator began working. The angry voices became clear. "Unknown vessel, you have violated Imperial space. Identify yourself immediately or face destruction. Repeat, unknown vessel, you are in direct violation of Imperial Decree 4847. Surrender now." "How did they get past our defenses?" "Nothing has broken through the Imperius Prime security grid in 3,000 years. Sarah looked at her crew. "Imperial space? Imperius Prime?" Rodriguez shrugged. "Sounds fancy." Jackson finished his sandwich and wiped his hands. "Should we answer them?" "Might as well," Sarah said. She activated their transmitter. "Hello there. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the cargo ship Lucky Strike. We seem to be a bit lost. Could you point us toward Earth? It's in the solar system, 3rd planet from the sun, lots of water." The radio went silent. After a long pause, one voice came back. Did you just ask for directions?" "Yes, please. Our navigation system broke and we have no idea where we are. We were supposed to be delivering supplies to Jupiter Station, but clearly we're not in Kansas anymore." Sarah laughed at her own joke. Another voice cut in. "How did you penetrate our security grid? What is your military classification? What empire do you represent?" Sarah looked confused. "We don't represent any empire. We're just a shipping company, Chen Family Freight Services. We move stuff around the solar system. Well, usually just the solar system." Rodriguez leaned toward the microphone. "Hey, do you guys happen to have a repair shop around here? Our gravity generator is making a weird noise. There was another long silence. Then dozens of voices started talking at once in the strange language. Even through the translator, they could hear the panic and confusion. Finally, one calm voice spoke to them. Unknown vessel, you will proceed to Imperial Station Omega for processing. Do not deviate from the escort path. Any aggressive action will result in immediate destruction. Sarah looked out the window and saw massive warships appearing around them. Each ship was 10 times the size of the Lucky Strike. They had enough weapons to destroy a small moon. Aggressive action? Sarah said into the microphone. We're a cargo hauler. The most aggressive thing we have on board is Rodriguez's hot sauce. It is pretty spicy, Rodriguez admitted. Jackson started the engines. So which way to this station Omega? A formation of sleek fighters moved in front of them, creating a path through space. The Lucky Strike followed along, its cargo bay still full of mining equipment meant for Jupiter's moons. As they flew toward the enormous space station, Sarah noticed other ships in the distance. They were all elegant and uniform, like they were built by the same civilization. Everything looked advanced and purposeful. It was very different from Earth's mismatched collection of ships, some built in orbit, some built on planets, all looking like they were put together by different companies with different ideas. This place is amazing, Rodriguez said, watching the alien ships. Look at those energy signatures. Their technology is way ahead of ours. I wonder if they have a good restaurant, Jackson said. I'm getting hungry again. Sarah shook her head. Only you would think about food when we're being escorted by alien warships. Hey, we might be here for a while. A man has to eat. The space station grew larger as they approached. It was shaped like a massive wheel, spinning slowly in space. Lights covered its surface in beautiful patterns. Smaller ships moved in and out of docking bays like busy insects. This is Station Omega Control, a new voice said through their radio. You will dock at Bay 247. Prepare for inspection and questioning. Copy that, Station Omega, Sarah replied. Looking forward to meeting you folks. Oh, and thanks for not shooting us. There was a pause. You are... welcome? Rodriguez laughed. I don't think they're used to people being polite. As the Lucky Strike settled into the docking bay, the three humans looked out at the alien space station. Creatures in strange uniforms were gathering to meet them. Some had blue skin, others had scales, and a few looked like walking crystals. Jackson stood up and stretched. Well, this should be interesting. Sarah checked her hair in the reflection on her screen. Remember, we're representing humanity here. Let's try to make a good first impression. Should we bring gifts? Rodriguez asked. I have some chocolate bars in my toolbox. That's actually not a bad idea, Sarah said. Everyone likes chocolate. The docking clamps engaged with a metallic thud. Outside, alien beings were pointing instruments at their ship and talking in excited voices. Sarah took a deep breath. Okay, everyone ready to meet the neighbors? The humans stepped off their ship into a long metal hallway filled with aliens. Sarah carried a small bag with their ship's papers and some chocolate bars. Rodriguez had his toolbox because he never went anywhere without it. Jackson brought a deck of cards and some beef jerky. A tall, blue-skinned creature with 4 arms approached them. It wore a fancy uniform covered in medals and ribbons. I am Commander Velketh of Imperial Processing. You will follow me for evaluation and questioning. Nice to meet you, Commander, Sarah said, extending her hand. I'm Captain Chen. Thanks for not shooting us. The commander stared at her outstretched hand for several seconds before cautiously touching it with one of his 4 hands. This is a greeting ritual? Handshake, Sarah explained. It's how humans say hello. Rodriguez was already looking around the station with interest. Wow, this place is huge. How many people live here? This station houses 47,000 beings from 32 different species, Commander Velketh said proudly. It is one of the Empire's greatest achievements. Cool, Jackson said. Do you have a food court? The commander looked confused. A food court? You know, a place with lots of different restaurants. All the colonies have them now. Great for long trips when you get tired of ship food. Commander Velketh made notes on a glowing tablet. You are concerned about nutritional acquisition during diplomatic processing? We are always concerned about food, Rodriguez said. It's a human thing. They walked through corridors filled with aliens who stopped to stare at them. The humans waved and smiled at everyone they passed. Some aliens waved back uncertainly. Your species displays no fear, Commander Velketh observed. This is unusual for first contact situations. Why would we be afraid? Sarah asked. You seem friendly enough. Plus, your station is really well designed. Good lighting, clean air, nice gravity. Whoever built this knew what they were doing. They entered a large room filled with aliens sitting behind desks. Each desk had stacks of glowing papers and multiple computer screens. It looked like the galaxy's biggest office building. This is the Imperial Processing Center, Commander Velketh announced. Here we will determine your species classification, threat level, and integration potential. Jackson looked around at all the busy aliens. Lot of paperwork, huh? The Empire requires complete documentation for all new species, the commander said. Please take a seat at Station 47. They sat down across from a creature that looked like a walking tree with eyes. It shuffled through papers and typed on a keyboard with roots instead of fingers. Name of species? The tree creature asked in a bored voice. Human, Sarah replied. Planet of origin? Earth? Technological classification? Sarah thought about it. We just figured out faster than light travel, so whatever that makes us. The tree creature looked up. You achieved interstellar travel recently? Last week, actually. This is our first test flight. The tree creature made notes. Military strength? Well, we have armies and navies, but they're mostly busy arguing with each other. We've never really fought anyone from space before. Political structure? It's complicated. We have about 200 countries, and they all do things differently. Some have kings, some vote for leaders, some are run by committees. It's kind of a mess, really. The tree creature stopped typing. You have not achieved planetary unity? Not even close, Rodriguez said cheerfully. We can barely agree on what to call fizzy drinks. Some people call it soda, some call it pop, some call it soft drinks. It's been going on for decades. While they answered questions, Jackson had started a card game with some alien guards. He was teaching them poker using his beef jerky as betting chips. The guards seemed fascinated by the concept of bluffing. You intentionally deceive your opponents for recreational purposes? One guard asked. It's all part of the fun, Jackson explained. The trick is to keep a straight face when you're lying. Meanwhile, Rodriguez had noticed a broken cleaning robot in the corner and went to investigate. Hey, this little guy just needs a new power coupling, he called out. He opened his toolbox and started working on it. You cannot repair Imperial property without authorization, Commander Velketh said. Oh, sorry. It just looked like an easy fix. Rodriguez closed his toolbox. Back home, we fix things when they break. Saves money. The tree creature continued the questionnaire. What are your species' primary exports? Food, mostly, Sarah said. We grow a lot of different things. Also entertainment, technology, art, music. People like our music. Do you have samples of this music? Sarah pulled out her phone and played a song. The aliens in the office stopped working and listened. Some started moving to the rhythm. This is pleasant, the tree creature said, swaying slightly. What is its purpose? Just for fun, mostly. Sometimes people dance to it. Sometimes they just listen when they're happy or sad. You create audio patterns purely for emotional stimulation. Among other things, Music is hard to explain. It just makes life better. A new alien approached their desk. This one had scales and multiple eyes. It wore an even fancier uniform than Commander Velketh. "I am Admiral Kextar," it announced. "I must ask about your military capabilities. How did you penetrate our security grid?" Sarah looked confused. "We didn't penetrate anything. We just appeared here when our navigation broke. Is there supposed to be some kind of barrier?" "The Imperius Prime Defense Grid is the most advanced protection system in the galaxy," Admiral Kextar said. "Nothing has passed through it in 3,000 years. "Well, our ship is pretty small," Rodriguez offered. "Maybe we slipped through a gap." "There are no gaps," the Admiral said firmly. Jackson won another hand of poker and collected his beef jerky winnings. "Maybe your sensors don't detect our type of FTL drive. We just invented it. It might work differently than yours." Admiral Kextar made notes. "What weapons does your ship carry?" "Weapons?" Sarah laughed. "It's a cargo hauler. The most dangerous thing on board is probably Rodriguez's power tools." "My drill is pretty loud," Rodriguez admitted. "You have no defensive systems." "We have insurance," Jackson said helpfully. The Admiral looked even more confused. "Insurance? If something bad happens to our ship, the insurance company pays to fix it or buy a new one. Works great, as long as you remember to pay the monthly bills." Admiral Kexatar whispered something to Commander Velketh, who whispered back. Both aliens looked worried. "Your species achieved interstellar travel without developing military technology?" the Admiral asked. "We have military technology," Sarah said. "It's just not on our cargo ships. This ship is for moving mining equipment and food supplies. The military ships are back home, probably arguing about budgets." The broken cleaning robot suddenly whirred to life and started cleaning the floor. Rodriguez grinned. "Fixed it while you weren't looking. Old habit." Commander Velketh stared at the robot. "You repaired Imperial technology without tools or authorization?" "Just needed a little adjustment. These cleaning bots are pretty simple once you understand the basic principles." Admiral Kextar and Commander Velketh exchanged more worried whispers. The humans waited patiently, looking around at the busy office and enjoying the alien music that was now playing softly over the speakers. "This is really nice music," Sarah said to the tree creature. "Very relaxing. Do you compose it yourselves?" "The Imperial Harmony Department creates all approved audio content," the tree creature replied. "Approved content?" Jackson asked. "Who decides what music people can listen to?" "The Emperor, of course. All cultural expression must serve the glory of the Empire." The three humans looked at each other. "That seems a little limiting," Rodriguez said gently. The humans were moved to a special waiting area while the Imperial officials tried to figure out what to do with them. The room had comfortable chairs, a food machine, and large windows showing the beautiful view of space. Jackson immediately went to test the food machine. "Hey, this thing makes pretty good coffee. Weird taste, but not bad." Rodriguez was examining the construction of the room. "Look at this wall material. It's some kind of living metal. Amazing engineering." Sarah sat down and pulled out her tablet to make notes about everything they had seen. As the ship's captain, she would need to write a full report when they got home. Commander Velketh returned with a new alien. This one was shorter and rounder, with purple skin and large, kind eyes. It wore simple robes instead of a military uniform. "This is Cultural Liaison Ambassador Veltar," the commander said. "He will help you understand Imperial society while we process your request for passage home." "Nice to meet you, Ambassador," Sarah said, standing up to shake hands. Veltar was ready this time and shook her hand properly. "The pleasure is mine, Captain Chen. I must admit, your species is quite fascinating. In my 300 years of cultural studies, I have never encountered beings quite like you." 300 years? Rodriguez looked impressed. "How old are you?" "I am 412 years old," Still quite young by Imperial standards. Jackson nearly choked on his coffee. 400 years? How long do your people live? The average Imperial citizen lives about 800 years, thanks to our advanced medical technology, Veltar said proudly. How long do humans live? About 80 to 100 years, if we're lucky, Sarah said. Veltar looked shocked. So brief. How do you accomplish anything? We work fast, Rodriguez said with a grin. No time to waste. Ambassador Veltar sat down and pulled out his own tablet. I am here to explain the glory and structure of the Galactic Empire, so that you may understand your place in it. Sounds good, Sarah said politely. But first, maybe you could tell us a bit about yourself? We'd like to know more about the people we're talking to. About myself? Veltar looked confused. I am an Imperial representative. My personal details are not relevant. Sure they are, Jackson said, setting down his coffee. Like, what do you do for fun? Do you have hobbies? Family? Fun? Veltar repeated the word slowly. I serve the Empire. That is my purpose. Rodriguez looked concerned. But what about when you're not working? Don't you do things just because you enjoy them? I do not understand. All activities should serve the Empire's glory. Sarah pulled out her phone. Here, let me show you something. She scrolled through her photos and found one of her family. This is my husband and our 2 kids. This picture was taken at our daughter's birthday party last month. Veltar studied the photo carefully. You display your offspring for ceremonial purposes? No, it was just for fun. Kids love birthday parties. Cake, presents, games. See how happy everyone looks? They appear pleased, Veltar admitted. But what Imperial purpose does this serve? None at all, Sarah laughed. That's the point. Sometimes we do things just because they make us happy. Veltar made notes frantically. You engage in activities with no productivity benefit? Jackson showed him the deck of cards. Want to learn poker? It's a great game. What skills does this game develop for Imperial service? None. It's just fun. Jackson started dealing cards. The goal is to win by having the best hand or convincing other players that you do. As Jackson explained the rules, Rodriguez found himself talking to Veltar about human technology. We don't really have one unified approach, Rodriguez explained. Different countries and companies all try different solutions. Then we share the best ideas. You share technological advances with competitors? Veltar looked scandalized. Eventually, yeah. It helps everyone improve faster. Plus, we publish most of our research in journals that anyone can read. You give away military secrets? Well, not military secrets exactly, but medical research, engineering innovations, scientific discoveries. Most of it gets shared eventually. Veltar was writing notes so fast his tablet was smoking. Your species willingly shares strategic advantages? Knowledge is better when it's shared, Rodriguez said simply. One person can only think of so much, but 1,000 people thinking together can solve almost anything. Sarah showed Veltar videos from Earth, cities, farms, concerts, sports games, children playing in parks. Each video raised new questions that seemed to disturb the ambassador. These humans gather in large groups for no productive purpose? He asked, watching a video of a music festival. They're listening to music and having fun with friends, Sarah explained. Music makes people happy. Spending time with friends makes people happy, so they combine both. But who authorized this gathering? Who determined its imperial value? Nobody authorized it. People just decided to do it because they wanted to. Veltar looked like his brain was overheating. People make decisions without imperial approval? Jackson looked up from teaching poker to some alien guards who had wandered over. Sure. We make our own decisions about most things. What to eat, where to live, who to marry, what job to do. Basic freedom stuff. Freedom? Veltar whispered the word like it was dangerous. Yeah, freedom. You know, the ability to choose your own life. Sarah sat back down. What do you choose for yourself, Ambassador? I serve the Empire. I was assigned this role by the Cultural Ministry based on my test scores and psychological profile. But is it what you wanted to do? Veltar stared at her. Want? I never considered whether I wanted anything. Want is irrelevant. Only service to the Empire matters. Rodriguez felt sorry for the confused ambassador. What did you like to do when you were young before you got this job? I enjoyed studying ancient music. The old songs from before the Empire when my people lived on our homeworld, but that music was declared non-productive and banned. Sarah brightened up. You like music, that's great. What kind of songs were they? They were songs about individual experiences, love, loss, hope, dreams. Things that are now considered selfish thoughts. Jackson won another hand of poker, and the alien guards cheered. They had quickly learned to enjoy the game. Sounds like beautiful music. Do you remember any of it? I could not possibly, Veltar began, then stopped. He looked around nervously, then hummed a few notes of an ancient melody. The sound was beautiful and sad, full of emotion that the sterile imperial music completely lacked. Sarah smiled. That's wonderful. It reminds me of some folk songs from Earth. She hummed a melody from her own world, something her grandmother used to sing. The two songs seemed to complement each other, as if music was a universal language that crossed species. Rodriguez had finished explaining human engineering to several fascinated aliens who had gathered around. The key is to try lots of different approaches and see what works best. Competition drives innovation. But what about efficiency? Asked one alien engineer. Surely one unified approach would eliminate waste. Sometimes, Rodriguez admitted, but it also eliminates creativity. When everyone has to do the same thing, nobody tries new ideas. When everyone can try different things, occasionally someone discovers something amazing. The alien engineers whispered among themselves excitedly. Several pulled out personal tablets and started making notes, which they quickly hid when Imperial supervisors walked by. Jackson had taught poker to a dozen aliens now, and they were all enthusiastically playing. The trick is reading your opponents, he explained. Watch their faces, listen to their voices. Everyone is tells when they're bluffing. This skill could be useful for negotiations, one alien said thoughtfully. Or just for fun, Jackson grinned. Sometimes the best skills are the ones you learn while enjoying yourself. Ambassador Veltar was looking increasingly distressed as he watched humans casually destroy everything he believed about proper society. I must report to the Imperial Council, he said finally. Your species is unprecedented. Is that good or bad? Sarah asked. I honestly do not know, Veltar admitted. You violate every principle of imperial order, yet you seem happy and functional. It should not be possible. As he left the room, they could hear him muttering to himself about the impossibility of happiness without structure and order without authority. Rodriguez looked out the window at the vast imperial fleet. I think we might be giving these folks some new ideas. Is that our fault? Sarah asked. Jackson collected his cards as the alien guards reluctantly returned to their duties. Sometimes the best thing you can do is just be yourself and let others figure out what that means to them. The next morning, Commander Velketh arrived looking more nervous than usual. He was accompanied by a dozen guards in fancy ceremonial armor. Captain Chen, he said formally, Emperor Zexthor himself has requested an audience with your species. This is an unprecedented honor. No new species has been granted an imperial audience in over 2,000 years. That's very kind of him, Sarah said, sipping coffee from her travel mug. When would be convenient? Commander Velketh looked shocked. Convenient? This is a command from the Emperor of the Galaxy. You will be transported to the Imperial Palace immediately. Rodriguez looked up from fixing another broken piece of station equipment. Should we dress up? I've got a clean jumpsuit somewhere. Dress up? The commander seemed confused by the concept. Jackson finished his breakfast and stood up. You know, nice clothes for meeting important people, like a suit or something formal. Your current attire is acceptable, the commander said weakly. Though I should warn you about proper protocol. When meeting the Emperor, you must kneel and wait for permission to speak. You must address him only as Your Imperial Majesty and never look directly at his face. That seems a bit much, Sarah said. He's just a person, right? Like a president or a king? Commander Velketh went pale. He is the Emperor. He rules over 10,000 worlds and 1 trillion beings. He is the most powerful entity in the galaxy. Still just a person, Rodriguez said cheerfully. Probably gets hungry and tired like everyone else. The guards escorted them through corridors filled with nervous officials. Word had spread throughout the station about the strange aliens who treated Imperial authority like a suggestion. Some aliens watched with horror, others with barely hidden fascination. They boarded a transport ship that was more luxury than any vehicle the humans had ever seen. The walls were covered in precious metals and gems. Servants offered them food and drinks on plates made of crystal. This is nice, Jackson said, settling into a seat that molded itself to his body. Very comfortable. The Emperor spares no expense for important guests, the servant said proudly. That's thoughtful of him, Sarah replied. Though honestly, our regular seats were fine, too. The servant looked confused, but continued offering refreshments. The Imperial Palace was a massive structure floating in space near the capital planet. It was larger than most cities and glowed with its own internal light. Thousands of ships moved around it in careful patterns. Wow, Rodriguez breathed, looking out the window. That's some serious construction. How long did it take to build? 300 years, Commander Velketh said proudly. It is the greatest architectural achievement in galactic history. Impressive, Sarah agreed. Though I bet the construction workers had some interesting stories. They docked at a bay lined with more guards in ceremonial armor. Trumpets played as they disembarked. Hundreds of officials in elaborate robes bowed as they passed. This is a lot of ceremony for just meeting someone, Jackson observed. The Emperor is not just someone, Commander Velketh hissed. Please remember the protocols. They walked through halls decorated with statues, paintings, and banners from thousands of different worlds. Everything was designed to impress visitors with the Empire's power and glory. Nice art collection, Sarah commented. That painting looks like it's from a water world. The technique is beautiful. It depicts the conquest of the Aquatic Rebellion, an official explained. A reminder of imperial justice. Looks more like someone's home to me, Rodriguez said, studying the painting. See the way they painted the light on the water? That's not a battle scene. That's someone painting a place they loved. The official looked uncomfortable and hurried them along. Finally, they reached the throne room. It was enormous, with a ceiling that seemed to stretch into infinity. Thousands of courtiers lined the walls. At the far end, on a throne made of crystallized starlight, sat Emperor Zexthor. He was tall and imposing, with silver skin and eyes like burning stars. His robes were woven with threads of pure energy. When he spoke, his voice echoed throughout the chamber. "Approach!" he commanded. The humans walked forward while everyone else in the room knelt. Commander Velketh was making frantic gestures, trying to get them to kneel as well, but they ignored him. When they reached the throne, Sarah waved. Hi there, I'm Captain Chen. Nice to meet you. Thanks for taking time to see us. The entire court gasped. Several officials fainted. Emperor Zexthor's eyes grew wide. You greet me casually? he asked. Well, yeah. How else should I greet you? You should kneel and beg for the honor of my presence, the Emperor said, though he sounded more confused than angry. That seems unnecessary, Rodriguez said. You're clearly a busy guy. We appreciate you fitting us into your schedule. Jackson looked around the enormous throne room. This is quite a place. The acoustics must be amazing. Do you ever have concerts here? Concerts? Emperor Zexthor repeated. Music performances. You know, for entertainment. I command performances when I desire entertainment. The performers are honored to die for my amusement. The three humans looked at each other with concern. Die? Sarah asked. Why would they die? It is the highest honor to give one's life for imperial pleasure, the Emperor explained. That seems wasteful, Rodriguez said gently. If they are good musicians, wouldn't you want them to perform again? Emperor Zexthor stared at him. No one had ever suggested that imperial customs might be wasteful. Tell me of your world's military might, the Emperor commanded, trying to regain control of the conversation. What armies do you command? We don't command any armies, Sarah said. We're cargo haulers. Your species' military, then. What fleets guard your empire? Oh, we don't have an empire. We just have Earth and a few colonies. And our military is, well, it's complicated. Jackson pulled out his phone and showed pictures. We have lots of different armies and navies because we have lots of different countries. They spend most of their time arguing about budgets and border disputes. You are not unified? The Emperor leaned forward on his throne. Not really. We can barely agree on what time zone to use for video calls, Rodriguez laughed. But somehow we make it work. How many worlds do you control? Control is a strong word, Sarah said. We live on Earth and we have some settlements on Mars, the Moon, and a few asteroids. Maybe 20,000 people total off-world. 20,000? The Emperor's voice rose. You achieved interstellar travel with a population of 20,000? Oh no, we have billions of people. Most of them just prefer to stay on Earth. Space is nice to visit, but home is home. Emperor Zexthor stood up from his throne, something that made the entire court tremble. You achieved faster-than-light travel without unified leadership, without an empire, without even leaving your homeworld. Pretty much, Jackson said. Though to be fair, we didn't really achieve it on purpose. We were just trying to make shipping faster and accidentally made a really big jump. Accidentally? Our navigation broke, Rodriguez explained helpfully. We were supposed to go to Jupiter, but ended up here instead. The Emperor sat back down heavily. You discovered interstellar travel by accident. Yeah, that's how we discover most things. Try something, see what happens, learn from the results. Sometimes you get Jupiter, sometimes you get a Galactic Empire. And you are not afraid of me? The Emperor asked quietly. Should we be? Sarah looked around the throne room. You seem like a reasonable person. A bit formal, maybe, but that's okay. Different cultures, different customs. I could have you destroyed with a word. You could, Sarah agreed. But why would you? We're not bothering anyone. We just want to go home and deliver our cargo. Our insurance company is probably wondering where we are. Insurance company? They pay for damages if something happens to our ship, Jackson explained. It's cheaper than buying a new ship every time something goes wrong. Emperor Zexthor looked like his entire worldview was crumbling. You insure against loss rather than conquering to prevent it? Conquest seems like a lot of work, Rodriguez said. Insurance is easier. The Emperor was quiet for a long time, thinking. The court waited nervously. Finally, he spoke. In 3,000 years of rule, no being has ever spoken to me as an equal. Well, Sarah said thoughtfully, maybe that's part of the problem. The humans spent the night as guests in the imperial palace, while Emperor Zexthor considered what Sarah had said. Their rooms were magnificent, but they were more interested in the view of space than the golden furniture. "Look at all those ships," Rodriguez said, watching the traffic around the palace. "They're all exactly the same design. No variation at all." "Probably more efficient," Jackson said, though he didn't sound convinced. "Still seems boring." Sarah was writing in her notebook. "I'm starting to think this empire has some serious management problems." The next morning, alarms began ringing throughout the palace. Commander Velketh burst into their rooms looking panicked. "There are uprisings on 17 worlds," he announced. "Species are demanding the right to self-governance. Some are asking for something called democracy. Others want free markets. What have you done?" "We just talked to people," Sarah said, confused. "Is that a problem?" "Word of your conversations has spread through the Empire's communication networks. Beings are asking questions they have never asked before. They want to know why they cannot choose their own lives." Rodriguez looked concerned. "Are people getting hurt?" "So far, the uprisings are mostly peaceful," Commander Velketh admitted. "They are demanding discussions rather than fighting. But the Imperial Council is in chaos. No one knows how to handle peaceful rebellion." Jackson was making coffee with the room's food machine. "Maybe that's a good thing? If people want to talk instead of fight?" "Talking leads to thinking, and thinking leads to questioning Imperial authority," the commander said desperately. "Thinking is generally good," Sarah said gently. "People should think about their lives and their government." Before Commander Velketh could respond, Ambassador Veltar arrived with news that was even more disturbing. "The Emperor has called an emergency session of the Imperial Council. He wants to discuss alternative governance models." The council members are terrified. "What's scary about talking about government?" Rodriguez asked. "We have had the same system for 10,000 years, Veltar explained. "Change is forbidden. But the Emperor keeps asking questions about human democracy and freedom. He wants to know if happiness is more important than order." The humans were escorted to an enormous meeting hall where hundreds of alien officials argued loudly. Some demanded immediate military action against the rebellious worlds. Others suggested negotiation. A few quietly whispered about concepts like voting and individual rights. Emperor Zexthor sat at the head of a massive table, looking tired and thoughtful. When he saw the humans, he gestured for them to approach. "Captain Chen," he said, "my advisors tell me that your ideas are dangerous to Imperial stability." "Our ideas?" Sarah looked surprised. "We didn't really share any ideas. We just talked about how things work on Earth. You described a system where people choose their own leaders. Democracy, yeah. It's not perfect, but it works pretty well most of the time." An advisor with tentacles for hair spoke up angrily. "Allowing inferior beings to make decisions leads to chaos and inefficiency." "Actually," Rodriguez said politely, "we found that people usually make pretty good decisions about their own lives. They know what they need better than someone far away." "But what about unity?" another advisor demanded. "How can an empire function without central control?" Jackson thought about it. "You don't need an empire. You could have more like a federation, a group of worlds that work together but make their own local decisions." "Impossible," the tentacle-haired advisor declared. "Without the Emperor's wisdom, the galaxy would collapse into war and suffering." "Has anyone ever tried asking the people what they want?" Sarah suggested. The question created absolute silence in the hall. "Ask the people?" Emperor Zexthor repeated slowly. "Sure. Maybe some worlds are happy with the current system. Maybe others would prefer something different. The only way to know is to ask." "But if we ask them, they might say no," an advisor whispered. "Then maybe you need to figure out why they would say no," Rodriguez said reasonably. Emperor Zexthor stood up suddenly. "I want to try something new. Send word to all worlds. We will hold what humans call elections. Each world may choose how it wishes to be governed." The Imperial Council erupted in panic. Advisors shouted about tradition, stability, and the natural order. Some fainted. Others began making plans to flee to distant galaxies. "Your Majesty," the tentacle-haired advisor pleaded, "this will destroy everything we have built." "Perhaps," the Emperor said calmly. "But these humans have shown me something I had forgotten. A government that rules through fear is not as strong as one that serves through choice." While the council continued to panic, Rodriguez noticed that their repair work was needed again. "Hey, your communication system is overloading from all the emergency traffic. Want me to take a look?" "You cannot modify Imperial communication networks," Commander Velketh said automatically. "Actually," Emperor Zexthor said thoughtfully, "I think we could use some fresh thinking. Proceed." Engineer Rodriguez. Rodriguez and several fascinated alien technicians worked together to upgrade the Empire's communication system. They added redundancy, improved efficiency, and made it more democratic by allowing individual worlds to communicate directly with each other instead of everything going through the capital. Jackson continued teaching games to anyone who was interested. Card games led to discussions about probability and decision-making. Sports concepts introduced ideas about fair competition and teamwork. Before long, aliens throughout the palace were organizing their own tournaments and recreation groups. Sarah found herself advising Emperor Zexthor on practical governance issues. "The key is to start small," she suggested. "Let individual worlds try different approaches and see what works. Share the successful ideas with others who want to try them." "But how do we maintain order?" the Emperor asked. "Order isn't the same as control," Sarah explained. "People can organize themselves pretty well if you let them. They usually want the same basic things: safety, prosperity, freedom to make their own choices." After 3 days, their ship's navigation system was finally repaired. Rodriguez had worked with Imperial engineers to understand their technology and fix the compatibility issues with human FTL drives. "Well," Sarah announced, "I think we can head home now. Thanks for the hospitality." Emperor Zexthor looked surprised. "You are leaving? But we are in the middle of reforming the entire structure of galactic government." "That sounds like something you need to work out yourselves," Jackson said. "We're just cargo haulers. Plus, we've got a delivery to Jupiter that's already 3 days late." "But what if we need advice?" Ambassador Veltar asked. He had spent the last 3 days learning about human music and was now humming folk songs while he worked. "You'll figure it out," Rodriguez said confidently. "You're smart people. You just needed someone to point out that there might be other ways of doing things." "Before you go," Emperor Zexthor said, "I must ask, would your people be interested in trade agreements? We could offer advanced technology in exchange for your unique perspectives." Sarah thought about it. "We'd need to talk to our government back home, but sure, we're always interested in new shipping routes. Here's our card." She handed him a business card for Chen Family Freight Services. The Emperor stared at it as if it were a sacred relic. "This is how humans conduct interstellar diplomacy? With small paper cards?" "It's got our contact information," Sarah said. "Call us if you need anything delivered." As they prepared to leave, word arrived that 17 more worlds had joined the peaceful independence movement. The Imperial fleet, instead of attacking the rebels, had been ordered to deliver voting machines and election supervisors. "This is unprecedented," Commander Velketh said, though he sounded more excited than worried now. "The Empire is becoming something entirely new." "A federation," Jackson suggested. "The Galactic Federation has a nice ring to it." Rodriguez loaded their cargo ship with gifts from grateful alien friends, new tools, exotic foods, and several advanced technologies that the Empire insisted on sharing. "Are you sure about this? Some of this stuff is worth more than our entire ship." "Consider it an investment in future trade relationships," Emperor Zexthor said. He was wearing casual clothes instead of his ceremonial robes, and he looked years younger. Sarah shook hands with everyone one final time. "It's been great meeting you all. Take care of yourselves, and remember, happiness is not selfish. Happy people make better neighbors." As the Lucky Strike undocked from the Imperial Palace, they could see celebration lights beginning to appear on worlds throughout the system. The revolution was spreading, but it was a revolution of joy rather than violence. "Think they'll be okay?" Rodriguez asked, watching the palace shrink behind them. "They'll be fine," Sarah said confidently. "They just needed to remember that government is supposed to help people, not control them." Jackson programmed their navigation system for home. Next stop, Jupiter, finally. The FTL drive engaged properly this time, and Earth's solar system appeared around them exactly where it should be. Jupiter Station was still there, still waiting for their cargo delivery. "Lucky Strike to Jupiter Station," Sarah called on the radio. "Sorry we're late. We took a bit of a detour." "Lucky Strike, this is Jupiter Station. You're 3 days overdue. Where the hell have you been?" Sarah looked at her crew and grinned. "Would you believe we accidentally started a galactic revolution?" "Very funny, Lucky Strike. Just dock at Bay 7 and get us our mining equipment." 6 months later, Earth's government received an official message marked Galactic Federation Trade Proposal. It sat unopened in an inbox for weeks because nobody believed it was real. The small note attached to it simply read, "Thanks for everything. Call if you need anything delivered. Zex Thor, President of the Galactic Federation." Rodriguez kept the business card the president had given him on his toolbox as a reminder that sometimes the best solutions are the simplest ones. And somewhere in the galaxy, on thousands of worlds, beings were learning to vote, to choose their own paths, and to find happiness in freedom. All because 3 humans had gotten lost and treated everyone they met like normal people, which, as it turned out, they were.